Welcome back. All right, so we're going to do a redraft, 1 through 30 from 2011. And as you can see, the logos of where teams ended up drafting. I'm wearing Ottawa because they were here, they were here, they were here. Yes, 6, 21, and 24, all Ottawa Senators picks. And so, yeah, this is I think a fun draft. When I'm looking at which redrafts to do, one thing I look for is depth. The overall depth. There are some very entertaining draft classes when it comes to big superstars at the top, but in a couple of cases the depth just isn't really there. So past the first 3 or 4, there really wouldn't be any, well, who's he going to pick next? So with 2011, let's go ahead and jump in. At number 1, going to the Edmonton Oilers. Moving up quite a bit. Nikita Kucherov, moving up from number 58. So, yeah, I would have Kucherov at number 1. A couple of cup rings, scoring's fantastic. He's got some trophies. He's got some hardware. And so, to me, Kucherov ends up going number 1. And I don't know that I need to really get into the why. But then we get into 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are very interesting because I know these players. I'm going to take them one after the other. And going back and forth on it, instead of going to Calgary, I'm going to have Johnny Goudreau move up from number 104 to number 2. Johnny Goudreau, explosive player. Originally, of course, Gabriel Landeskog being taken at 2. Landeskog's going to be definitely in this column, but again, I would take Goudreau ahead of Landeskog, explosive player. Not a lot of playoff stats as of yet in his career to go over, but now he's in Columbus. We'll see if that changes or if it stays the same. But yeah, so number 2 I have as Johnny Goudreau. At number 3, it's always fun when it ends up being the same player, doesn't it? Like, I think it's fun, isn't it? So yeah, number 3. In the original draft, number 3 in this draft as well is Jonathan Huberdeau going to the Florida Panthers. So, yeah, I would still have that end up being where those guys are taken. At number 4, going to New Jersey. Now, Avs fans, if you're upset, I mean, you can look about making a trade. Because number 2 that year was Gabriel Landeskog. I'm going to have him go at number 4. He's now got a cup ring to go with being... I think Landeskog at this point is almost underrated because his teammates overshadow him. But yeah, Landeskog, I'll have end up going at 4 to the New Jersey Devils, which would be quite the move. Remember, they originally took Adam Larson. Larson will be in the first round of this draft. Larson takes a lot of heat. I don't know how fair that is. But yeah, he doesn't end up going top 4, which is interesting because at the time of the 2011 draft, Larson was seen as a dark horse to maybe go number 1, and when he fell to 4, that was seen as a huge boost for New Jersey. Next on the board, one that I was surprised fell as he did. Originally taken at number 8, Sean Couturier with the New York Islanders. Boy, I tell you, he would fit right in with the Islanders, wouldn't he? Couturier is an excellent two-way center. Needs to be healthy this year. But yeah, Couturier, I have moving up from the number 8 spot. So this was a pretty good first round. You've got 3, 2, and 8 already on the board. A couple of later draft picks from rounds beyond the first to start things off. But yeah, so Sean Couturier, I would have go at number 5. You guys can let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below, or email some government agency or something or other. Next up, at 6, moving up 1 spot from where he was originally drafted, Mark Scheifele. Scheifele, point per game every season. Really, really reliable. You can kind of set your watch by him. So him to Ottawa, he going to Ottawa, him going to Ottawa. It just doesn't sound right. Him going to Ottawa. Yeah, that's the right phrasing. Just doesn't sound right. Him going to Ottawa, I think, would be fantastic. Now, of course, Mika Zibanejad originally went at 6. I'm debating about him for the number 7 spot. There's a goalie who could go in the number 7 spot, which would be interesting since overall, yeah. I mean, if Winnipeg had taken a goalie, I think people would have been scratching their heads a lot. Hellebuck was coming along and all, but John Gibson at number 39. Hellebuck was before that. It doesn't matter. John Gibson at number 39 going to the Jets. Just say that I see the Jets logo, I put a goalie there, and my brain kind of shuts down. Like, they already got Hellebuck. What are you doing? So, yeah, I think this to myself while I'm doing these redrafts. John Gibson going at number 7. I think Gibson's a fantastic goaltender, and so he might even be to the point where he's kind of underrated now. Number 8. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins drops from number 1. Now, there will, of course, be the comments about disrespecting Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but he's a very good two-way forward. He can play center, he can play the wing, he kind of does a little bit of everything. At number 9, dropping down from 6, not because he's had a poor career, but because it's a pretty loaded draft class, Mika Zibanejad. This is why I took the 2011 class. This top 9 is ridiculous. And when I was looking at it, I was like, I have to talk about 2011 because we talk about 2003 and 2015 and how loaded those drafts are. 2011's pretty good. And again, this is where the debate of, well, is there a superstar in the 2022 draft class? We don't know that there are. Yeah, but we don't know yet which draft picks from 2022 are going to pan out and be pretty good players. So I have Zibanejad going at 9 to the Bruins, which Ranger fans will disagree with. Sens fans might even disagree with and say, no, we would still take him ahead of Scheifele. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. At number 10, you know what? I'm not going to change things for Minnesota. I think Jonas Brodin is an underrated defenseman. I think Jonas Brodin's done an excellent job for Minnesota, and I would still put him at this point in the overall draft. So Brodin and Huberdeau, nothing changes there. And again, because people will always look at points. They'll say, well, this guy has more points than that guy. It's not just about points when you're trying to pick up players. There's a lot more to it. You're looking at leadership. You're looking at defense as well. You're looking at the overall player. And for me, Brodin, pretty good. The offense may not be there, but pretty darn solid overall. Next up. Yeah. Dropping from 9. And going at 11. So Colorado takes Dougie Hamilton with that pick. So Dougie Hamilton going after Jonas Brodin. There will be some feathers ruffled there. But for me, I like Brodin's defense quite a bit. Hamilton, there's some ups and downs there. And he's moved around the league a little bit. We'll see whether or not he's situated in New Jersey for good or if he ends up moving on from there too. But for Dougie Hamilton, his overall career, solid player. I would take him at that point. And so, yeah. Next up, and there may be some comments about, hey, I don't see this guy yet. Another former first-round pick. So this first round was very good. JT Miller was originally taken 15th overall by the New York Rangers. I'm going to have him get taken 12th overall here by the Carolina Hurricanes. Miller's a tough one. I'm going to say why. The 99-point season with Vancouver this year, absolutely fantastic. But over his career, if you look at his average point totals and his average output, the 99 points seems out of place. So we expect there to be some kind of an adjustment. So based just on this past season, would Miller be in the top 10? Probably. But based on the overall career, I'm going to draft him at 12. And again, I don't really expect another 99 point. I would love to see him score 100 points with Vancouver and all the critics and trade speculations to go away for a while. But yeah, Miller, I would expect probably 80 points out of him this year if he plays the full season in Vancouver. No idea what would happen if he gets traded and what that new team might mean for his ice time and his points. But yeah, I take Miller at number 12. Which leaves me at, looking through the rest of the players I've got here, there's some good ones. There's still some excellent players that I've got here that I can take. Do I want to move that player up? I don't think so. Not yet. All right, Calgary. We're getting into a bit of a logjam here, so I should just put like an asterisk next to each of these. William Carlson starts the logjam, moving up from number 53 in the draft to number 13. You put William Carlson, the player he's been in Vegas on the Calgary Flames, pretty good forward, and then you don't need Kadri, but Carlson's price tag's a little bit high. Anyways, so you'd still not have a lot of cap space. But Carlson is, at this point, I think he's kind of getting into the underrated category. I know the goal scoring that he had that first year in Vegas, he hasn't been able to equal that. But he's such a good two-way forward, and he's an excellent first or second line center. Probably better suited to second line than first. That's why having Eichel in Vegas should benefit, I would think, Carlson's numbers too, because then he's not getting the prime matchups. He's getting the secondary matchups, so it might be a little easier for him to maybe get that goal scoring going again. But I go with Carlson at that point, and it is not an easy pick because there are a lot of other players around here to pick, including going to Dallas. Not a first-round draft pick originally, but not too far outside of it either. Drafted 37th overall that year was Boone Jenner. Boone Jenner, excellent player for Columbus. The goal scoring's been pretty good. Again, if there's a consistency, I could see Boone Jenner ending up with a 50 or 40 goal season. I'm not going to say 50, I think 40. Could very well be doable for him. And so we'll see if that is the case this year in Columbus, where he'll be playing with Johnny Hockey, I would think. But yeah, I have Jenner moving up from 37 to 14th, which leaves me. And again, I'm in. The only thing I can call this really is just it's a logjam because all these guys are pretty close. So the Rangers just signed this guy. Well, I'm doing away with the middleman. I'm just having them straight up draft Vincent Trochek, who was originally drafted 64th overall in the 2011 draft. Trochek, excellent forward, and coming off of what was a pretty solid season in Carolina, I think Ranger fans are going to love him. And again, 13, 14, 15, all these guys are centers. They all have good things. They all have drawbacks to picking them wherever you're going to pick them. I really think this is where it's tough. Next off the board, to Buffalo. Goaltender Jordan Binnington. Binnington, it took a long time for him to get to the NHL, but once he gets there, he's fantastic. Wins the Stanley Cup in 2019. Since then, his regular season numbers have been around average for the most part. Then he had a fantastic, very small time there before he gets hurt in the playoffs. Played really, really well for St. Louis. Binnington can be a very good goaltender. Binnington can be, I would say, a top 10 goaltender at times for the National Hockey League. The consistency year to year, the consistency month to month can be kind of tricky to predict. So I have Binnington going at 16, which will be too high for some, too low for others. The cup ring means there are going to be some who say he should at least be top 10 because of that cup ring. And then others will say, well, the cup ring didn't have as much to do with him as it did with other players, yada, yada, yada. So I'm taking him at 16. Right, halfway mark's 15. He's just after the halfway mark. Next off the board, and those are the only goaltenders out of this draft too. Number 17. Do I want to go? Yeah. Originally taken 26th overall. Montreal takes him here, and that's Philippe Danault. Danault, of course, great year for the Kings, but before that with Montreal, his checking role was really good. He helps to get them to the Stanley Cup final in 2021, and this is where points aren't telling you the whole story. There are going to be guys after Danault who score points at a better pace than he does in their careers. But I really think that if I was putting a team together and if I could get Danault as my number 2 center, I would be quite happy. I'd be like, okay, the shutdown role is filled. And then if you get another center who can score and shut things down on the third line, like a Jordan Staal type, then you're really set. Not that Jordan Stahl's in this draft. I think I've already done the draft that had Jordan Staal in it. I have talked about Jordan Staal because I did the number 2 draft pick, so that might be what it is as well. Next off the board. Moving up from 205th in the draft to the number 18 spot, going to Chicago, or he was number 208. Sorry, 208th. Mix that up. Andre Palat. Now, Andre Palat, couple of Stanley Cup rings with the Tampa Bay Lightning, which, again, will cause people to say, hey, he should go higher than that. But while he's been very good for them in the playoffs, at times, I wouldn't qualify him as a primary driver to the Cups the way that Kucherov's been able to play. So, yeah, I have Palat at 18. Reliable, should be 20, 25 goal scorer any season he plays. But, yeah, so I have him at 18 on the board. I know there will be some discussion. Next off the board. Going to Edmonton. Brandon Sod, who was originally taken 43rd overall. So Sod ends up climbing into the first round in my redraft at 19. And Sod, useful player, 25 goals. You can get that from him. He's reliable. He's gone through various teams in the league, and his production seems to be pretty steady no matter where he is. So, yeah, Sod, good producer. And again, this draft, I consider this one to be kind of stacked. Right away, when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's the draft I need to do because it's not going to be easy. Number 20. It's like this is the draft of two-way forwards. Two-way forwards that have had pretty darn good careers. So number 20 to Arizona, I have J.G. Pageau. Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Do I have two Arizonas in this draft? No, there's just the one. So Jean-Gabriel Pageau to Arizona. And again, the argument can be made anywhere from 13 through 20. That's quite the list right there. Love this draft. Number 96, Jean-Gabriel Pageau becomes number 20. Big fan of his when he was in Ottawa. Still think he's playing well with the Islanders. I know that contract's going to end up looking a little bit rich if it doesn't already. But, yeah, Pageau, very good player. And in the event that the Islanders had trouble this year and Lou says, you know what, I'm going to put Pageau on the trade market, there would definitely be teams lining up for Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Very, very good player. All right, next on the board here. Quite the dive. He was originally drafted 5th overall. I have Ryan Strohm going 21st. Strom's production has been good. Strom's production has also been heavily reliant on his line mates. At least that seems to be the case. And so while his production was good for the Rangers, they didn't seem to have any problems letting him go. And so, yeah, Strohm ends up down here at 21. Not the explosive forward that I think they had hoped for when he was originally drafted at 5. But good career. And again, I think this is a really, really solid draft. A lot of fun to look at. Number 22. See, there's part of me that wants to grab a defenseman here. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm going to give Toronto a defenseman. Adam Larson. Originally drafted 4th overall, as I said, by New Jersey. Larson's had a decent career. The offense has never been robust, right? So the defense is where it's at. But I think he's good enough. And I think he's now with his 3rd team with Seattle. I think Seattle's happy with him. I think Edmonton mostly was as well. For all of the discussions of the Taylor Hall for Larson deal at the time it took place, and it's a contract, or it's a trade that we can still debate to this day. I still understand what Edmonton was trying to do. They were trying to shore up the defensive side of their game and they really believed in the upside for Adam Larson. Larson doesn't achieve what was expected. If he had become the defenseman he was expected to, there's no way he falls below 4 in the redraft. But still, good long career, likely to play over 1,000 games in the NHL. One of those unheralded defensemen, but at least at this point in his career, I would consider him unheralded. Next one off the board. Pittsburgh at 23 draft Josh Manson, who was originally drafted 160th overall. Manson has shown himself, proven himself to be a very good top 4 defenseman in the NHL, and so I think he makes the big jump into the first round in the redraft. The physicality is there. There's some offense with him. Defensively, he's pretty sound. Honestly, Manson, very, very strong defenseman, and in this ridiculous draft class. Next on the board, for Ottawa, so let's take a look at what Ottawa got here. Moving up from 75th to 24th is Blake Coleman, which means that in my redraft, the Sens get Mark Scheifele, Ryan Strohm, and Blake Coleman. That's not bad for a first round right there. Coleman now in Calgary, of course, where nobody wanted to sign until they did. Coleman is a very solid third-line player who can play second line if he needs to. I think ideally for Calgary he should be on that third line, but we'll see how it all turns out. And I say ideally on the third line because you want 3 scoring lines in the NHL now, and I think Coleman's dangerous. And Coleman showed in Tampa he can be pretty dangerous in the playoffs too. And that deal that they made for Coleman, Tampa Bay being they, worked out pretty darn well for them. So Coleman's on the board here at 24th. 25th. Let's see. So we're into the ones that I haven't put on the board yet, and I'm going back and forth on a bit. Yep. Going back to the blue line. Look at that. Toronto, I got him 2 defensemen. You're welcome, Leafs fans. You're welcome. Jamie Alexiak drops from 14 to 25. So Larson and Alexiak, that's not bad. Neither of them are going to set the world on fire offensively, but they're both solid defensively. It took Alexiak a while. In the event that Toronto had drafted Alexiak, I'm already looking at alternate timeline where they did it. I don't know they would have had the patience. Dallas didn't. Dallas did not have the patience for Alexiak to get to his potential. Then they brought him back. He reaches that, and now he ends up in Seattle because, things happen. But Alexiak from 14 to 25. Alexiak's a player that if I'd been doing this redraft, I'd say 4 years ago, I don't think he would have been even on the board. Because, again, it took him a while to reach the level that he's at now, where he is a legit top 4 defenseman. Next up, going at 26. How about another defensively minded center? Adam Lowry, who was originally drafted 67th, goes at 26th to the Chicago Blackhawks. So Chicago gets Lowry, and they get Palat. That's not bad. Again, that's not bad for Chicago. They do pretty well in this redraft. I like Lowry. I think that the Jets are a better team than what a lot of people seem to think. Looking at off-season grades today that were posted on, I think it was on Sportsnet or TSN. I think it was on Sportsnet, and they had the Jets as a C, which was the lowest grade they gave, and I thought, that seems a little bit harsh, but I understand it. Hopefully Lowry and the rest of the boys prove the pundits wrong this coming season. So we're down to the final 4 players. Okay. Now, in the event that Rickard Rakell has another good year, he honestly ends up probably up where Adam Larson is if he's consistent. But Rakell's consistency and his health have been an issue throughout a lot of his career. So Rakell ends up at 27. Originally, he was taken 30th overall. So he still moves up, not as much as people might think. For Rakell, again, health and consistency are 2 reasons he's as low as he is on this. Even after Adam Lowry, yes. I know there's people who are going to argue because, again, points and goals are the sexy stats. But to me, Raquel, it's just, it's that hopefully in Pittsburgh he finds it and he scores, 25, 30 goals a season, which we all know he can. But at times in Anaheim over the last couple of years, it just was not there. Next off the board to Minnesota. Why not give him another defenseman? Connor Murphy was originally drafted 20th in this draft by the Arizona, then Phoenix Coyotes. And so I have Murphy going at 28 this time around to the Minnesota Wild. So again, a lot of this first round has developed pretty well. And again, these are all bona fide NHLers. The nice thing with this draft, I'm not looking at like, well, this guy, maybe. All right, number 29, moving up from 139th. Now, he's had to retire due to injury, but I'm just looking at his body of work over his career, and I think Andrew Shaw still goes 29th in that draft. Andrew Shaw playing with the Chicago Blackhawks for his whole career, and again, he gave them that agitating that they needed. Or he didn't play with Chicago his entire career. What am I talking about? He did leave Chicago, and then he went back. It feels like he was in Chicago his whole career. But yeah, Andrew Shaw, I have going at 29th to Vancouver. That would have been interesting if he'd played in Vancouver, because the 2011 Canucks had some agitators on it. So if you had Burrows and Kessler move on, and then Shaw comes in, the agitation factor definitely would have still been pretty darn high. Which leaves last out, and I want to give honorable mentions to Oscar Klefbom. If not for injury, Oscar Klefbom absolutely gets drafted here. And Victor Rask. Rask, who had a couple of really good years there, but tailed off badly. Now he's a free agent. I don't think he's signed anywhere as of yet. And so, yeah, those guys get honorable mentions. But at 30th, a player who I will admit has bounced around a bit in his career. But I liked his play as a deadline pickup last year. That's Vlad Nemesnikov. Nemesnikov has been a little bit of everything at the NHL level. Sure, he may not have reached the status of other Tampa Bay picks from this same draft, but he did end up being pretty good. It is interesting that Vlad Nemesnikov is the first-round pick by Tampa, who we talk about how great they are, and yet they didn't draft Kucherov in the first round. They didn't draft Palat in the first round. They drafted Nemesnikov, who, again, didn't end up having... I don't think he's had the success Kucherov has had, but hey, Tampa Bay picks bookend this, and that's why I was thinking about wearing a Tampa Bay jersey, but I thought, no, the Senators had 3 draft picks. I'll wear Sens instead. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, there are no wrong answers when it comes to redrafts. It's just a fun thing to look at. And again, from 13 through to, I would say, 21, that's a log jam. And so that is tough to really come out with and say, well, this is 100% accurate. So there you go. My redraft of the 2011 NHL entry draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.